Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Dancing Geek podcast. My name is Dancing Geek, or James if you prefer. It is Wednesday the 8th of October and I don't have any finished objects to show you guys today. Sorry, I do have some more historic ones, but I'm saving them for another time. I just thought, no, I'm not so interested in showing more of those straight away. So whips, and then there will be quite a few naps. Yeah, and not just me falling asleep on camera. And if you can hear the little scampering noise around, that's because Stitch is running around my feet at the moment, bless him. He may well come up and say hi, as he did a little earlier when I was doing a test run. So, whips, yes, I have my sock that has progressed well, a bit. This is in my bag from Mixed Plate Knits, which is Ashley Lynn, thank you very much. And little squeal there for you. And yeah, I've got a little bit further on, so I've basically just done a bit more, a couple more inches of the foot. The reason being, I've been treating this project as one to take with me if I think I might need something to knit. I've been focusing on other stuff if I know I've got some knitting time at home and stuff. I did get some done because I went to a friend's house. I had to go away for a bit, and when I came back they were midway into a new game, so it was really difficult to try and bring someone in. So I sat next to them and knitted. And apologies, it's kind of grey, wet day today, but every now and again the sun suddenly comes out from behind a rain cloud and is blasting me, despite the fact I've got my anti-glare curtains up. So yeah, I've already got one sock, and you can see they don't match, which is great because I don't like matching socks. I don't wear matching socks, and I think if it's hand knit, not quite matching is awesome. And yeah, actually, if I hold that up, there's not a massive amount left to do, but I'm making this one a little bit longer to test which length in the foot before I do the toe decreases I prefer. So I'm going to do an extra ½ inch on this one and then see how it goes. I'll either extend this one using the little ball of yarn that I took off when I finished this sock, planning ahead. So that matches straight away into the toe colour and then carries on the gradient. Or I'll just rip the longer one back, obviously, which is fine. And I shall have some sock yarn scraps to start thinking about some kind of sock yarn scrap project at a later date. Not yet though, too soon. Too soon. As in, I don't have enough scraps, as opposed to too soon for some other weird reason. The join, you can see the join between where I go off and do the heel and come back is between sort of a dark brown and a burnt orange. So it's a little obvious given it doesn't gradient, but actually I'm absolutely fine with it. I don't think it's a problem. It was more subtle in the other sock, but just even holding it up like that, I think you wouldn't really realise that there's a problem there. Oh, not a problem, you wouldn't think there was a problem there, you wouldn't realise that there was an unusual colour change there, despite the fact that it normally gradients. I really don't think it's that obvious. Stitch has opened my curtains, no! So the light here is really glary in the daylight, never mind. Never mind. Ooh, what's that falling from the sky onto my knitting? No, nothing falling from the ceiling, we're alright, don't need to run. Okay. The other work in progress I have in my other project bag, thank you very much Amelia, is my commission project. So I'm not going to get it out, but you can see that's quite full. Yeah, big squishy bag. There's 600 grams of wool in here, and I'm 90% through the project. So yay! I say that not just because yay I get to send it off, but also yay because it turns out I massively underestimated both the time it would take me to do this and the cost to make this. So I'm basically doing this at cost for yarn and postage. Dope. So all the time I've spent doing this, I haven't been able to progress my other projects, and as I will talk about in a second, I have a whole load of naps that I want to get going with, so I will be happy to get this done and out of the way and sent off with lots of love, but I will be glad to get it finished. But yay, pretty bags. So yeah, some lessons learned around that. I'm thinking luxury knits if I do this in future. I felt bad charging more than I did, and then I realised actually no, I've used a really nice yarn. It's 600 grams, so that's sort of 3 normal size skeins. These are 50 gram skeins actually, so it's 6 skeins. That's actually not an insignificant amount of yarn, and if I'm buying sort of reasonable yarn that was sort of sort of mid-priced yarn, then actually that adds up. And yeah, and then it kind of did make me suddenly think about what some of the projects that I'm making for myself cost. And yeah, ouch, knitting's expensive. At least being a knitting snob is expensive. So I think after Bakewell, I will possibly actually have a proper moratorium on yarn buying, because I've been excited a few times, and then I'm kind of going, yeah, this is a bit of a pricey hobby I've suddenly adopted, isn't it? Anyway, I have a whip that I can actually show you that's a bit more interesting, which is in my, not project bag, but project box, because this is a whole sweater, and I don't have a sweater size bag at the moment. But this is my stripy jumper, and I have to show you guys now all 6 colours. So I knit up. I didn't have them done. I didn't have much done on this at all, and so last night when I was doing a bulk load of podcast watching, the sun's back out again, I just sat and churned out, because it's almost entirely stockinette apart from a little pearl ridge at the side. Shout out to Brian again for that idea. Brin719 on Instagram. And so I got the last 2 rows done, and I cast on just a tiny, you can see like 1 row of the first colour again, just so you could actually see the full width. So because of the mass that I did, each stripe is either 10 or 11 rows, but you really can't tell, I don't think, that extra row, but it should just make it, the length, just a bit better, more in keeping with the original pattern. So there we go. Just stretch that out a little bit. That, oh crikey, there we go, that's better. I'll just cover my face, that's fine. That's the 6 colours. And I have to admit, I was a bit worried once I got just these 4 done, because I thought, oh, this looks really odd. Now I've got all 6 done, and we've got kind of a yellowy colour, yellowy greens and dark greens, sort of a beigey light brown, dark greens and light greens, light and dark brown, dark greens and actually a slightly bluey green. I think it actually works. I imagined repeating that and then whether or not I'd wear it, and I think, well, it's a bit of a statement piece in terms of I'm a knitter, look at all these lovely knitting yarns I've got, you imagine those jumpers with like 1700 colours in them and stuff. It kind of makes me think of that, because there's variegated, gradient, variegated, and 1 plain, which I would say is a solid. It might be a semi-solid. That might just be the shadows and lights now from it being knit up, but I think that's a solid, really. But I've got 4 different variegated yarns, 1 gradient yarn, and a solid knit in stripes. This one with a dark brown, I think, stands out particularly because it obviously goes green, 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 and it kind of goes lighter browns, yellows, light browns, and then it's suddenly got this dark brown patching happening in a light brown, and I think the dark brown stands out more than the light brown in here, even if I find a chunk that's mostly light browns. Give me a second, sorry, I'm trying to fold this and show it to you without dropping stitches off my needles. There we go, there's the needles, that's where I need to just make sure it doesn't go wrong. Okie dokie, here we go. So this section is a bit more, dear, fiddly. This section is a bit more light brown, just making sure, there we go, the needles are safe in one hand. So it looks better, but you can still see the dark brown, I think, in that little stripe of dark brown in that stands out, so it seems to be quite an accent. I'm hoping if I repeat those colourways and what have you, that kind of accent stripe will just be that. It will just be an accent stripe. It will make it interesting, rather than overpowering it or looking out of place, because it's a gradient amongst variegateds. Well, and we'll see what happens. But I have to admit, after the third and fourth stripe, I got really worried, which is why I didn't work on it all week. I was like, oh, I don't like it. I'm going to end up just not doing this pattern or ripping it all out and having to pick new colours. Had a little bit of a sulk, basically. And then I was like, right, well, for you guys, I'm going to knit up all 6 colours. So this was very much inspired by, driven by my desire to have a chat with you guys about it before I made a decision. And in person, I really like this. I'd be interested to see when I edit this what it looks like on the camera, because I've only got a tiny view screen and then I watch it on my massive TV. But just with the lighting being a bit funny today, it feels a bit glary, I'm squinting. I'm not sure how well it will come out and whether it will look like it does here, which means whether or not I can get an informed opinion from you guys. Obviously, I'm going to make it if I like it, whether or not you like it, and I'm not going to make it if I don't like it, whether or not you do like it. But I would love comments and feedback. You guys have been really nice in shouting out and kind of going, yes, you know, and make it if you want to and stuff. And obviously that is the knitter's rule, assuming you make it for yourself. But even if you're making something for someone else, you want to enjoy making it, otherwise, ugh. So, you know, find a compromise that means they'll like it and you'll like making it. But yeah, I'm actually thinking it looks quite fun. And because it's a thin jumper and it's a short sleeve jumper, I know I've got plenty of time, because I won't really be wearing this until, well, potentially I could wear it in the house over winter. So I might wear it over Christmas or something like that. That could be fun if I get it done for Christmas. It'd be my Christmas jumper, you know, for indoors, for eating dinner and stuff with everyone. I say that, I don't know who we're doing Christmas with or anything. We haven't planned that yet. I need to get on that, see what my friends are doing, see if anyone wants to do a Christmas meal. And yeah, otherwise it'll be spring. There we go, that's when I'm wearing this jumper. But basically, I'm not stressing about getting this done for Bakewell Wool Gathering, because it's not going to happen. And there's loads of other stuff I want to get done in October. So that one's going to take a longer time scale. And I will just either take a photo or I will point the guys at my podcast and say, check out the podcast, and then you'll get to see it. And yeah, the only thing I haven't done actually with the new stripes is wash and block. I don't think I've even done that with the very different wool. This is a very different fibre content, and it's a different yarn supply. This stripe is Lalbear, whose last ever sales of yarn is going to happen at Bakewell Wool Gathering. So if you were umming and ahhing, you've got to go now, because you have to get some last chance Lalbear. Basically anything you guys don't buy, I probably will. But these 5 are all natural born dyers, and I'm going to see those guys as well at Bakewell. They apparently were at Yarndale, and I just didn't see their stall at all. So I missed a huge chunk. I'm not sure what happened. Whether they only came on the Sunday, which would seem ridiculous, or whether I must have just missed a huge chunk of something. I mean, I did spend 2 hours of the 6 that I was there chatting with people. And I need a good 6 hours to do a yarn festival, so I probably did just miss a great big chunk of stuff. But yeah, there's my current stripes, and I think I'll get about 4 rounds of that. Now Rory is back. He would like letting outside. Rory, come on, come up here. Come up here, little guy. Come and say hello to the podcast, and then I'll let you out, because then at least the guys have had a chance to. It's Rory! Yes, yeah. He's like, no, I don't want picking up. No, I don't want fussing. I want letting outside. Come on, just have a look at the camera for me. There we go, a little bit almost. There we go. He's just like, okay, I'm going to have to let him out, excuse me. Come on. Oh dear, because I don't want the door open for long because of Stitch, because he's not allowed outside. It's not long since he had his second lot of injections, his kitten injections, and he's just too small. I actually have to push Rory out the door now, so it's a slightly ungraceful exit, and he goes and stands outside giving me a dirty look. But he's run off now, so that's fine. Okay, that is all of my whips. So, the stuff that I want to talk about that I'm getting excited about, because out of this lot, there's only... well, there's the socks to just get done, the jumper's going to take a while, and then the commission project I will do a separate video of, and then when the person has it, I will check if they're happy for me to share sort of work in progress and finished products and everything on here. But if not, then you might never get to see it. So, I want to talk about some stuff that I'm hopefully just going to get done in October. So I've set myself up. It's already the 6th, 8th. Oh my god, it's already the 8th of October. Oh my god. Okay, October and November. Maybe. But there are some cowls happening. And there's Socktober. And so between those two, I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I want to get done. So one is, and I checked this beforehand, I'm just double checking, there's nothing sort of pattern specific on here, it's all just sort of the intro on the front page. But one is this gorgeous, gorgeous cowl, which you'll notice is called Bartley. That's my name! Yeah, this is by Katie of Pie and Anne, who is Knit Sew Crochet. I've been gushing about the fact that she designed this, and she said this pattern is especially dedicated to you. That's to me, with a little heart on it. So I'm like, yay! It's super bright orange, so I have been shopping for super bright orange yarn. She did tell me which one she made it with. But that's now discontinued, literally 2 days ago, and I ummed and ahed about getting it, but it's from America, and I just thought I'm going to get a British alternative and test knit it with British yarn, and then that way it's been knitted with different yarns, and that's my thinking and justification for not having to pay import on yarn, because ow! I couldn't find any indie dyers that had bright enough orange, so it is I've gone for West Yorkshire Spinners, Aaron, for this. And I've already bought it online because I found someone that had it on sale, so I was like, yes, thank you! But then I'm going to Bakewell, so I may end up buying some more yarn that I'd rather knit this in and using that for something else, because orange Aaron yarn is not going to have a hard time being made into something in this house. So yeah, I'm going to be doing the test knit for this, and when I get the yarn for it, so that'll either be through the post or at Bakewell. If it comes quickly, I'll probably just cast on before Bakewell, and then I might cast on another version of it with Bakewell yarn, or change my mind and rip it out, I don't know. But I'm really excited to do this. Thank you so much, Katie, for designing it, and then thank you for letting me test knit it. And I've spoken to her about it, and because she's been really public in the design process on Instagram, so if you check out Knit Sew Crochet, sew as in sewing, Knit Sew Crochet, all one word, on Instagram, you can see the design process, or you can just look the hashtag Bartley pattern. I think it's Bartley pattern, yeah. And you can see her developing it and wrecking it back and changing her mind and then changing this, and us chatting about it. So I'm gonna. She was like, yeah, you can totally talk about it on project. So I'm going to treat it as a whip for a paid pattern. So I won't be sort of showing you the pattern or talking about the construction detail, but I'll be showing you guys how I'm doing and talking a bit about things like, oh, it's got cabling, and oh, it's got fringes, and you know, because obviously you guys can just see that from the photo anyway. So yay, that's one that I'm going to be jumping in on, and then Katie, Valiant Anne, also just brought out her Mr. Cowl, which is a crochet cowl, sort of aimed at blokes, because it's a nice sort of simple, straightforward, not too much too much detail. It's like nice bold colours with a little bit of you can see the gorgeous little spots of the other colour, so it's a bit yin and yang type idea there. And I thought this was gorgeous, and then what I didn't realise until I just happened to be pootling around her forum group was she does a giveaway. Every time she brings out a new pattern, she'll do a giveaway on her giveaways thread. So that is one to watch, people. And I just happened to time it really, really well. So I went along and stuck in an entry for the giveaway, and I won! So I got another free pattern from Katie. I felt bad. I was like, I've deprived someone else, but actually there's only about 3-4 entries. And actually, because I was talking to Katie about this, she was like, well, let's do a cowl for it. So we're doing a cowl crochet along, C-A-L, cowl, for the Mr. pattern. And the guys that entered for the giveaway got a discount code anyway, so I didn't feel too bad. And it's not expensive. But yeah, and that's going to be going on till like mid-December, and it's just a little cowl. So it's really relaxed, because obviously around this time of year, people are starting to think about Christmas knitting and what have you. And so a lot of people are saying, oh, I'm not going to do any more cowls now this year because... But this would make an awesome little Christmas present, I think. And so does Katie. So, so she suggested to do the cowl as a sort of a Christmas gift cowl, and I've said that word a lot. And yeah, so that's how we're doing it. So it's a nice slow up until mid-December kind of thing. But I should be doing one of these as well. I haven't even picked out yarn for it or anything, but in my Dancing Geek podcast group, Dancing Geek is always all one word, on Ravelry, Dancing Geek Podcast is the name of the group. There's a little thread which is just a link through to her, so if you want to just go and find Pine Anne and find her thread for that, join in, that's great. If you know my podcast group and not Katie's, then go to mine. It's closed, it's locked, because it's just a link through to Katie's to go and join in and comment over there and stuff. But yeah, I'll be doing that, so you'll get to see that on here as well. Although it's such a quick knit, I'm thinking it might be a case of as soon as I picked out the yarn, it will then be a faux the next week. Haha, I say that. Probably not. So, the other one is socks, and there's a couple of different patterns of socks I want to do. One is, I was gifted the Mystic Spiral Socks pattern by Josh Ricks. Everyone knows I'm a big Josh Ricks fan, and if you don't realise that, then you just haven't watched my other podcast, that's fine. I usually manage to find something to talk about with Josh related in every week podcast. The poor chap is probably a little bit frightened of me by now. But his Mystic Spiral socks, and I kind of figured, well, Socktober would be an awesome time to cast them on. However, Foxes in Socks are also doing a heels and toes knit along up until I think it's the end of October, which is socks with a contrasting heel and toe. Although they've now expanded it to include cuffs, but you have to have 2 of the 3. So you could do cuffs and heels, heels and toes, toes and cuffs, or all 3. There we go. So I quite fancy doing those, but I don't think I'd want to do the Mystic Spiral socks with contrasting heels and toes. I might change my mind. I might just do it with that sock pattern, but I was thinking I might do a different sock pattern just to try a different one out. And make sure, therefore, I'd also do a fish lips kiss heel. FLK is the acronym, that helps me remember. Fish lips kiss heel on one of those. If not the Mystic Spiral, then the other one. So I might find some basic vanilla sock and do heels and toes in contrast and fish lips kiss heel on that, to kind of make that my trying stuff out socks after I've learnt lengths that I like off of Christopher Dixon Knits with Balls on Instagram, his ribbed for his pleasure pattern. Sorry, I forgot to say earlier, sorry Chris. His ribbed for his pleasure pattern, which is that he gave me, but he's now moved. He's moved to the West Coast now, so he's now like 8 hours out from me, so I keep catching glimpses of him on Instagram. I haven't really talked to him in ages. Boo! So I'm just going to have to fix that one and just hit him up a little bit. But yeah, once I finish his socks, I'll have a bit more of an idea. Or I may just combine it all in one pair of socks. I will probably see how I'm doing with the Mystic Spiral socks and other patterns. And if I'm worried that I don't have enough time, then I'll combine them. I may well end up having to combine them or doing the Mystic Spiral socks second, because the socks cal is only in October, and I'm thinking the list I've now just written of things I want to get done is way too much for just October, and I'm going to have to do it across October and November, even though they're all fairly small knits each. So yes, there's the. I thought I'd printed them out, so if it's a tiny picture. Can I get it to zoom in on that? There we go. So that's the Mystic Spiral socks. You can kind of see there's a bit of a effect on the socks there. It's not the best picture of them. I was like, I don't have a printed out picture for this. I don't have a printed out bit, and that's because I only did a big picture of some other patterns. So then there's a basic sock. There's also a whole bunch of toys that I want to make, because there's 2 different toy knit-alongs going on. So there's a basic sock pattern. I'll cover my face so it focuses. There's a basic sock pattern that I want to try. And then there's a little bunny pattern that I want to try. This is by a designer that I got. Somebody actually refocus it again. Somebody actually suggested to me when I was talking about doing toys. I haven't got the designer's name noted on here. This is my queue I've printed out basically. So if you look in either my queue or my project page, it'll all be linked in there. But it's super tiny and cute, so I want to make that. There's also a little owl that I want to make, which is a surprise gift for somebody who I'm pretty sure does not watch the podcast. There's also the bakery bears. I want to finally make a bakery bear. And I wanted to make an amigurumi sheep. The little owl is amigurumi as well. And the bunny's quite small, so I'm thinking those 3 shouldn't be big projects. Oh, it's refocused on my face there. But the bakery bear is a proper full-size project. And yeah, and that's 7 things I've got on my queue, and then I remembered 2 other toys when I was looking through stuff that I bought that I also wanted to make as potential Christmas presents. I haven't got those to show on here. So that's 9 items. And some of these cowls do end in October. Some of them go through into November a bit. But that means I've got maybe 4 or 5 weeks to get all of this done. So I need to look at deadlines for stuff. And what have you. So the Mr. Cowl that goes on till mid-December might get put to the bottom of the pile a little bit. But the test knit I have to do pretty darn quick, because people are bothering Katie for the pattern. And I'm test knitting it, so I have to get it sorted. So I'm hoping to do some of the smaller toys first. So sorry Kay and Dan, but the bakery bear is going to wait till later on. I really want to get it in for your cowl though. There's also the knit along for Dan that is happening, and that ends at the end of this month. And I keep saying I want to do, it's only a blanket square, and I want to get a blanket square out for Dan. So that's another thing in my queue. That I don't think I've actually got that one written down, and I know me, I will forget. So I'm just going to write that one down on here, because it's not actually, I make a note, all my little projects that I have that I do, like my commission project, I put them as a project in Ravelry because I use that to organise myself. And the blanket square for Dan isn't actually in, I don't think, my queue on my project page. So I need to have these things, even if I'm not working from a Ravelry pattern, so that I know what I've got going on, because I need to have one place I can refer to everything. And I like it to be digital, because then you can move stuff around and it's easy to edit it and say, okay, this is done, delete, and you're not having a messy bit of paper with lines crossed through and stuff. I like the neatness of working with digital media. Okay, so that's lots and lots and lots of naps. And then on top of that is charity hats. So I mentioned last week about Turbo Knitter and thank God it's finished, Erin and Ken doing sort of hat drives and talking about knitting for other people and knitting for charity and stuff. And so yes, I'm going to be doing some hats, some adult hats, and maybe some baby hats as well. Some like, is it preemie hats like to people born prematurely, babies, premature baby hats. I'll talk more about the ideas for that in a bit. But that's all of my naps that I want to do, which is, yeah, not an insignificant number. So we'll see what happens. I still need to get a bit more organised. I maybe need to break it down because, you know, I've got like, I said 4 or 5 weeks and I've got like 10 projects. So that's 2 a week. That's some serious knitting, guys. That's some serious speed knitting that's going to happen if that's going to be the case. So I'll see what happens. But none of them are massive projects. Socks are a little bit tricky because obviously that's really small. But the other stuff is Aaron, DK. I think Mr. is... Where did I put the Mr. pattern? Over here. I think that's DK. Yeah, 4mm size, 300 metres for a 100 gram skein, so that sounds DK-ish. Oh, sport weight, there we go, that's why I thought it's not quite DK, is it? It's because it's sport weight, but sport weight DK. And I think I've got some sport now, so I'll have to check and see if I've got something I can make that in sport weight, because that's not really a UK weight yarn. We don't tend to have sport weight over here. It's sort of between 4-ply and DK for us in the UK, or between fingering and DK for Americans. I think DK is the British one, but it's bigger than sport, which is the American one, and Americans have actually adopted DK as another one as well now, I think. Could be wrong on that, but that's my understanding at the moment. Yeah, so it's lots of things done in sort of either tiny amigurumi in sort of DK or something, but done quite tight because it'll be little stuffies, or DK or Aaron small garments like cowls, or 1 or 2 pairs of socks. So, and actually I can get a pair of socks done, if I really work on it, I could probably get a pair of socks done certainly in a week if I really boshed it out. I think I could do it quicker than that now because I'm doing it not contemporary style, not culinary style, continental style. Contemporary dance, food, and then I get to the knitting. Right, the next is some stash love, but I actually have been good and not bought any more yarn to show you. I have bought more yarn, but it's via the internet and it hasn't arrived yet. Oh my god. I have a problem, don't I? But that's for the test knit, right? That's just an excuse, James. That's just an excuse. So, that hasn't arrived yet, but what has arrived, Rory is now hanging by the door wanting to let in. I'm going to see what happens if I don't let him in straight away. What has arrived is this very exciting project bag from my friend Roz. She is a lady I met through dancing. I did some really cool performances with her. One up in Derby and one down in London. So I actually got to perform at Laban, which was very cool. That was through Fleur Darkin. It was the disco, spelt like disco, as in disco, but disco as in to go somewhere. So D-I-S-G-O. I could have just said that first, couldn't I? So yes, if you look on my portfolio, which I linked to last week, my dance portfolio, there's some video from that, and Roz is in there as well as me. She was one of the professionals that toured with it, whereas I was just one of the professionals that kind of didn't get paid, basically, but came and did. It was really, we looked like audience, so we came in with the audience and stuff, and then we suddenly started dancing, but it was an interactive thing, so the audience are up on stage with the touring performers in costume, and then we start moving, and then we get the audience moving and stuff as well. So we were kind of like the intermediaries between the touring team and the audience. So it was for professionals who either wanted to get to do this really cool project or wanted some experience, like beginning professionals and stuff. Certainly when they came up to Derby, it was local artists. not necessarily people who would go and do toured work and what have you. And Flo was actually one of the people I was saying last week who really encouraged me to go and do work professionally. And yeah, I never really did actually I didn't audition for her. I could have auditioned for some other stuff that was a bit more intensive. But as much as I loved dancing, that was never really what I was going to do. That really kind of, I knew that I didn't have the level of focus that I would want to have. If I was going to go and do that kind of project, I would want to give it a level of commitment and effort and focus and physical training, basically, that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do a lot of the training work. I love dancing. I love dancing. I love dancing in rehearsals and workshops and performing, but I realised kind of just like going to the gym, stretching every day, all of that, just, I was like, that's too much like hard work. So I'm not doing that, which is why I was talking about before that I do sort of community-based projects and what have you, because it's not physically as intensive. It's just not as a touring project. It's different kind of work style, lifestyle, and all of that. But yes, so Roz has moved away to another country, and she started doing lots of sewing. And I follow her on Instagram, and she was in London recently at some kind of sewing arts school kind of thing, because she had these amazing designs of like frills and ruffles and corsets and all these kind of things. Awesome. But she also does kind of little vintage things, and I think repurposed garments or recycled garments or stuff that she's made out of old style fabric and all these kinds of different things that she has way over there, far away from me, which sucks because some of that stuff looks really cool, but I would want to be able to try it on and or see it against me before I bought it, because it's not stuff I would normally buy. And of course, if I'm just going to ship it over and then have to ship it back, that sucks. And then you're returning stuff for a friend, and that sucks as well. But she was showing little bags on her Instagram, and I went, ooh, I can have that as a project bag. Now you can see it's not a huge bag. But say I was making one of these, I was maybe going to wear this today because it's quite cold, but I've had the heating on so it's not so cold. If I was making one of these, oops, it fits really easily, yeah? Loads of room in there for a little ball of what have you and something. So a little mini project like that, because that's a 50 gram skein, or a 100 gram skein would fit as it gets converted into a project. I just thought that would be fine. And she did take a photo for me of some wool and a scarf kind of thing in here. Before I bought it, just because I was like, what can you fit in it? And then it's got this really jazzy orange and yellow interior, which is totally quite 70s, very much me. So I love that. And then it's almost like I think we call it a parka in England. I don't know if you'd even ever have had these in America or Canada or anywhere else other than Britain. But when I was a kid, they were quite popular, and they were this kind of colour, blue, with this kind of, is it like a quilting stitch? I don't know if that's what it would be, but stitching like that, I think. Quite warm, they were quite thick, they were winter coats with nice tight cuffs, and then this hood, and the hood would have like this fur lining to it, and they would often be orange on the inside, or have orange edging around the zip and things like that. So this blue is bright orange. I never had one as a kid, but I had things like lovely wool duffel coats with little toggle buttons and stuff like that. They were so cool, but they were a really big thing when I was a kid. So so that's kind of cool. So it's very retro, and it's been made by my friend, which is really nice. So there's another one. Another project bag for me to play with, so I might see actually if socks would fit in here. That might work. So one of my 2 sock projects might go in here. If not, one of my little toys or something like that would fit in here absolutely fine. So very excited to have another project bag. I have now been bitten by the project bag bug, that is for sure. The ease of being able to grab my project and know it's not going to poke out of my bag or that I'm going to lose needles. I'm less likely to drop stitches as well because stuff's not getting mushed around as much. And it's very cat friendly. Lots and lots of yarn tails. I shove my project in this, zip it up as I go if I'm nipping off to do something. No yarn for cats to play with. Open it up, grab my project, and I just knit out of the bag. So all my yarn stays in here. So there's only one strand of yarn coming out from here. Hello, Stitch. To my knitting, which means generally there's not stuff lying around for the cats to get excited about. Let's have a little cat moment. What's the word? Cameo appearance. There we go. Say hello, Stitch. Hello. Say no. He's looking down because he wants down. He's like, no, no, no. I don't want to be picked up. Thank you. But it's still quite chilly today, so they tend to hang around me. If I sit down for too long, they'll come and sit next to me and curl up because it's so cold. Right. Oh yeah, Roz's bag. But also with the bag, I got this kind of cool little creation, which is really, really random. So it looks like a little mini book, basically. But very much in vein, in keeping with sort of the design of her bag, which is kind of lots of vintage and reclaimed items. It's like a book, but it's made out of really interesting reclaimed materials. So you can see there's a bit of a map there, which looks really, really cool. I haven't worked out, but I'm guessing that it is Israel. Because it's got a bit of coast and it's got place names that sound Arabic, so it could be Israel, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon. Is that right? Is Lebanon there as well? Oh my gosh. See, my geography is really bad, but I've made more of an effort recently to try and learn some of the Middle Eastern geography. But yeah, so it's got a bit of coastline on it, but it has place names like El Mashmul, Rujum El Mishnaka, Snain El Karar, Abu Thuhur El Hirsch, Es Safiya. Now I'm using my best sort of Arabic-ish pronunciation because it's Middle Eastern, and that's the only... Thank you, Stitch. You've pulled down my shading curtains. The sun comes out, everyone's going to get blinded. And there's an area called Arisha, and one called Humrat Ma'in. So that could be... It's somewhere Middle Eastern, basically. And that's where she's gone. She's gone off to the Middle East. It's just a bit of grey card that could actually be really good for putting stuff in front of, for colour correcting when I put things up. So my nice green shawl is exactly the right green in front of the grey card. How cool is that? So that could be useful. There's a bit of plastic, a bit of translucent plastic, a bit of recycled paper. Can you see that? Yeah, so it's flecked there. There's another page of the map. So El Hamra, El Khirba, and it actually says J. El Hamra, J. El Khirba, Imra Arakib El Mushayrifa. So I'm trying to remember, like, it's mountain, maybe it's Mount something, J is Mount something, and I can't remember what Mount is, or mountain is in Arabic, so if I ever knew in the first place. I just love, I love languages and foreign countries and stuff. Yeah, and the other bit of paper I skipped past was clearly from a book, because it's got a dedication on it, and then it's the same stuff, but the other half of it out the back, and it's all wrapped in this blue translucent plastic, and it's all been stitched together, so it's been sewn together, which is kind of cool. So I have no idea. Well, I kind of like the idea of using this as like a scrapbook rather than a notebook for like storing memories in, for like ideas or yarn scraps or holiday mementos or something like that, which is really cool. So I don't really know what it's going to be, but for the moment I think this is going to go in my display cabinet of knickknacks and memories, because obviously this was made for me by my friend. So that's going to go in my memories thing, and then if I come up with a good use for it, I shall pull it out and actually use it. So that was a nice little surprise, a little extra that came with. And that is the only thing I've got really to show you stash-wise, because the other stuff that I received, and thank you so much, was patterns. I've got like more patterns to talk about for today, so So the first one I want to show you is a pattern called running hat, or is it running beanie, running something, running hat, that Love Sock Wool gave to me. So this, I realised I haven't actually printed off the name or the designer or anything. But she sent me this, so thank you very much. I'm assuming that's the designer's photo. That's not Love Sock Wool. But she just sent me a little pattern for this lovely hat, so thank you. If I make it for myself, I think I might make it slouchy, because I'm starting to realise I really like slouchy hats. But I'm going to be knitting a non-slouchy hat in the near future. That's another needle adjacent project, but one I haven't mentioned yet because it's something a little bit secret. And when I do that, I will try it on and what have you, and take photos and stuff, and I will see. And if I like the non-slouchy hat again with long hair, so I'm trying this as a non-slouchy, don't tuck all my hair up in today, a little experiment. I may actually just go with the pattern as written. But that was really lovely. So I've got a hat pattern there. That I think may have to wait a little while for me to make it, because I have so many other things I've already got in my queues I don't want to get done this month. But depending on what happens in the podcast, that might be something that gets done certainly before the end of the year. Another one is a pattern that I won in a giveaway. Apple Blossom and You did a sort of finished objects giveaway in September, and I entered my 2 hats and the shawl that I actually managed to get done in September. Yeah, 3 projects in a month, much more reasonable. Oh God. Well, I like to set goals for myself, you know, lights a fire under me. And I got a pattern for $5 or less of my choosing. And so I had a good hunt through, and I chose the Itineris shawl, because it was actually the 11th Hour shawl by Josh, sort of a knitter, that I won with. And I want to say Sarah Matt. Matt was giving me lots of compliments. He's Navy 1990 on Ravelry, and yes, M Franklin 1990 on Instagram. So M is Matt, I think I'm right on that. Was complimenting the shawl I'd done, and so when I went looking around and I picked a bunch of different patterns I was going to maybe get, and I picked this one in the end, and I realised as I chose it, I was like, oh, I've chosen another shawl with lots of geometric lines on it. Well, there's a reason I like Josh's stuff, okay? I maybe would have picked Josh's stuff, but he doesn't have anything for $5 or less. More on that later. So, and I say that now without worrying that I'm going to cut myself off, because I'm just going to keep talking. So that was another one. And then finally, today, just before I started recording, I usually just check messages briefly and what have you, just to make sure I'm up to date on stuff and I'm not waiting a week to talk about something. And rightly so, because just before I started to record, I got a message from Lucy LW on Ravelry. Thank you, Lucy! Who, well, the little story behind this is when I was playing around with looking at my queue and what have you, I was thinking about queuing other stuff that I was going to maybe make, and I saw, sorry, I'm eyeing up Stitch, who is sniffing the camera, but he's moved away again, so we're alright. There you go, a little glimpse of him there as he's standing on all of my nice printed out stuff. Yes, that's a jumper, thank you, Stitch. You don't need to put your claws in it. So as I was looking at stuff to queue and what have you, and looking at patterns that I liked for my Apple Blossom and You win, I found some stuff and I was like, ooh, I'll queue that for November, but it's a paid for pattern and I haven't actually bought it yet. And a little option came up going, would you like to add this to your wish list? And I was like, oh, I've seen this before. And I did try to sort of add stuff, and then I was like, Stitch's tail is so close to the camera. Like, you're just going to get tail in a second. But I took them out again because I was like, I don't actually have, they're not wish list patterns. I wouldn't want anyone to buy them for me. But I was like, oh yeah, I'll put this in the wish list because I think I'm actually going to make it. But I'll get it myself in a bit. But it was late, and I was just like, yeah, I'll put it in the wish list and try it out because I hadn't really played with it, I hadn't explored it. And you can see where this is going. I now don't have a wish list again because I got one item in my wish list. And then the next morning I get a message going, Lucy has bought you the one thing you had in your wish list. So thank you, Lucy. That's really sweet of you. And yet it is Mr. Bakery Bear! So Kay and Dan, if you are finding time to either catch up or keep up with these podcasts, and I'll link to you guys anyway in the show notes so you'll know about this, I'm finally going to get a Bakery Bear done because I joined the forum and I've been talking about them and to them, but I haven't actually been knitting the Bakery Bear. So, you know, slap wrist for that, because I was like, oh, I don't know, toys, that's not really what I want to be knitting right now. But there's toy cows going, and there's Christmas coming up, and I suddenly got inspired, and I bought a load of fluff, and everyone suddenly went, oh my god, that much fluff is going to do you loads of stuff. So I'm hoping it does, because I have loads of toys now that I want to make with it. So we'll see what happens. Well, I'm going to make a Bakery Bear. Probably for me. So yay, I'm very excited to be making a Mr. Bakery Bear. And that was another pattern that I got gifted. So thank you again, Lucy and Sarah, Matt, and Love Sock Wool. I didn't notice your actual name. I only know Lucy because her brother name is Lucy LW. And Apple Blossom and You is the podcast that I won that with from. I'm not sure if they're doing another monthly giveaway now for the rest of this year again because of Christmas, or if that was somebody else and they're doing them this year and then finishing them at the end of the year. I'm not sure, but go and check them out anyway. And they're a bunch of skinheads at the moment, both of them. So go and watch their podcast and find out what that's all about. So that is all of my sort of stash knitting stuff to show you, bits and pieces. So if you're wanting to whip through my podcasts, because they are a little longer than the average podcast, then that section is now finished, and we will now begin sort of the chatty, community-based stuff. So first off, I always like to do the questions and what have you, rather than just going straight into rambling, because if people have asked me questions, I like to try and respond to those. Stitch is now in the far end of the room, so it's nice as I'm chatting to you guys. I can see Stitch behind the camera. Keep an eye on him. Yay! And I only really had one question this week, which is great. That's fine. One is 0 is fine. 1 is fine. 20 would be painful. So, you know, a nice low number I can cope with. And that was from Jamie Walcott, who has posted a couple of times in my group. Hi, Jamie. In fact, let's do a little hi to Lucy and Sarah and Matt and Love Sockwool as well, thank you. And hi to Katie. I didn't actually do highs earlier, I should have done highs. I like to do hellos when I talk about people. Hi to Dan and Kay. Who else have I talked about? Hi to Chris. Oh no, that's enough. So hi Jamie, she wrote in just 40 minutes into last episode, because I talked about soaking my shawl. I don't know if you can hear, there's a plane going overhead, or a helicopter I think actually, it could be the helicopter going overhead. But she wrote in to say she wants to ask how to soak the scratchy wool in hair conditioner to soften it. And she said, what ratio do you use? How long to soak it? Because she's knitting up socks for hubby and they feel a bit rough. So, you know, if you're making stuff for a guy, we're total wusses. If you've read any books about knitting for men, they basically say men are wusses. We will not accept those rustic yarns. We like super, super soft yarns. Because, yeah, we're total wusses. So she asked about that process. However, I have only done it once, based off of my friend Heather, who I met up at the Countess Ablaze Open Studio Day, and she just suggested soaking it, and I was like, oh, well, I don't know. I just stuck a couple of squirts in a sink full of water. However, Heather wonderfully responded to the thread and said that she uses a dollop about the size of a £2 coin or 50p, depending on how many things you're soaking, and leave it for a good half hour. Like when blocking or washing, and she said that's because it takes that long for the water to penetrate the fibres to the core when you aren't squeezing or mauling it about. Now, I tend to be a little impatient and squeeze. But I tried, when I was washing the yarns, I washed the yarns that I mentioned were bargain bin yarns last week, little tangent here. I washed them, and I wanted to try, I just tried letting them sit to soak, and it does take about half an hour for it to all soak in and sink in, and because I did that in a good lump of detergent. I was going to try and not get suds, because obviously when I'm squeezing and mashing stuff up I get lots of suds, and that way the detergent stays in the water and therefore in the wool, in the yarn, which worked quite well. And there was more soap that penetrated it, I think, because they required a bit more rinsing than usual, so that was a good practice. They're hung up waiting to be put away now. But yeah, so she said for a half hour, if you're not squeezing it and mulling it about, which is probably a good idea. Again, when I soaked and mauled, my hair conditioner does still have a little bit of that sodium sulfate, which causes suds, because they think we like that when we wash our hair. And to be fair, it does feel like it really gets into the hair. I think the bubbles, it feels like the stuff gets into the hair more because of the bubbles. It could just be psychological, but there we go. So I would probably recommend half an hour just letting it soak. And then she said she doesn't rinse it out, because I did last time, so that's good to know. I might do some other bits and pieces that I've come back to that are a bit scratchy. If you don't use too much, you don't really need to. Like, you wouldn't rinse out fabric conditioner, which is completely true. I don't. Well, no, I don't, but actually, I don't know. Maybe with hand wash stuff you don't wash out fabric conditioner, but I use fabric conditioner in the washing machine, but I think it does a rinse cycle afterwards. I don't think the conditioner is the last thing to happen, but I don't know is the honest answer. But yeah, she was saying that's what she does. So that's all on the episode 5 forum. Post 32 is the reply, and then you can see all the posts she was replying to if you click on in reply to, click, and then in reply to, click, which is what I've done here, so I can see them all on one sheet of paper to print it off. So if you want to reference that information later, episode 5 thread in my Dancing Geek podcast group has all the info there. Thank you, Heather, for the answer. Hi, Heather. Thank you, Jamie, for the question. The other thing she asked about was, as an American, she'd never made hot tea, and how is it done exactly? And again, I was kind of like, well, I'm a total beginner at this as well. And I linked to his forum post for the instructions he gave me for making hot tea. You'll notice I haven't mentioned tea for the podcast already, and that's because I don't have any this week. I have not been A, organised enough, B, inspired enough to go and buy some teas. Partly because I kind of thought, well, tea's not really my thing, and it was kind of funny to do it because Josh does it, but there's an element of which it just becomes I'm stalking him, and I don't actually want to sort of single white female him. I think that's the right reference from the movie Single White Female, but the woman comes along and then suddenly starts to try and just become the new flatmate that she gets is a single white female, but then she's the psycho. Because I think the whole thing is you say, I want a single... It's a woman, she wants a roommate, she says single white female, as she is a single white female, she says she wants a single white female, and I think that the idea is that that's supposed to mean that it'll be safe, rather than getting in a bloke she doesn't know or something like that. But the single white female she gets in turns out to be a total psycho. It's a thriller type film, and like tries to become the original woman. Yeah, it's my notes. Well done, Stitch. And I don't want to do that to Josh. I don't want to become a freaky stalker person just because I think he's awesome. There's enough people, thankfully, that have said I quite like him, that hopefully it just comes off as sort of homage, or I just am sort of a UK version of him, rather than me being a crazy stalker boy. Because I love his podcast, I love his designs, and I love his personality. So, yeah, and I talk about him a lot, don't I? Oh well, move on, James, move on. Then you won't sound like you're a stalker. So yeah, so I might, if I think about it again during the week, I might kind of, or if I see something that looks interesting, I might get some tea and do tea again. I think it's going to be an sporadic kind of thing. If and when I have something, I will do it on here anyway. If I try something, I'll do it on here, because I think that's fun to do. Right, moving on. To community as a section. So number 1 is Moira from Knitting in Stitches, for 2 reasons. One, she gave me a shout out on her latest podcast, episode 4, so I feel like we're working in tandem. We're both fairly new podcasters. But also she was saying about project bags and what have you, and the ones I've shown you, you can see they're kind of, there's a small sock, a sock, and a large sock project bag, really. I mean, the large sock one has fit 3 skeins in, but it's full, you know, it's bursting. I have to be careful when I close it. So it'd maybe do a shawl, and the small sock would, you know, would certainly fit a small skein, like a 50 gram, maybe 100 gram skein project, but it would be full for that. So the larger project bags, they are obviously more expensive as well. If I lift my legs up, will he stay on my lap? Yeah. Kitty cat. But she had this genius idea of, for a large project bag, say you just have a sweater quantity of something you want to bung together, like my project box at the moment for my stripy sweater, that she spotted some large cushion covers being sold. Not the cushions inside, just the covers, and they were going for like cheap. And it's a big project size bag with a zip. Now obviously it doesn't have structuring, the material in it to give it structuring. It doesn't have lining material or anything. It's just a pretty fabric bag with a zip. But it means that if I wanted to, I could shove my jumper in there until such time as I either make or have enough spare funds, because I've stopped buying yarn, to buy a full-size project bag. So we'll see. But I thought that was genius, absolutely genius. Roy's come back again for a 3rd time, so I'm just going to let him in again. Oh, he's run off again, so let's just see. Rory! Rory! Yeah, come on. There we go. I was like, ow! Sorry, I had to hold Stitch whilst I did that. Oh dear. I don't want him to get too used to being able to go in and out all the time, especially over winter. I want him to understand if he goes out, it's cold, he stays out and it's cold. So he learns that he only goes out for as long as he wants to go out, and then he comes back in, rather than doing in and out all the time. He's a cat, he's going to do what he wants, but I don't want to have, like I used to have the conservatory door open all the time in the summer when he was getting used to it, and now he's been out there a lot and he's like, yeah, let me out, and I'll go out and I'll go out every day. I'm like, okay, you're used to being out now, you don't need the coddling quite so much. So yeah, that's what that was all about. It's so quick because when I called his name, I don't know if you could hear, but he was meowing to me as he ran back to the door because he'd kind of meowed, realised the door wasn't open and buggered off. Excuse me, and gone away. So I had to call him back to let him in. He might need the loo or some food because I don't think he's worked out that he can go to the toilet outdoors yet. So another massive shout out. I don't think I did. Hi Moira! In fact, whilst I'm in between, I'm just going to fix the fabric there. I could be nice and edit this all out, couldn't I? But normally it just does it. Normally it just goes up super quick. Of course, now that I'm doing it whilst I'm filming, it's being a right pain in the butt to do. There we go. Okay, that's a bit better. Lighting's a bit better again. So there's another shout out I want to do to Terry. Hi Terry! I mentioned him last week because he got me I think it was Terry that got me the Mystic Spiral. No, Terry got me the Killer Shawls pattern by A. Castellana, crafted. Anthony Castellana. But when I gave him a shout out, I completely went blank on his YouTube channel. So I wrote it down. It's Tegsy the Yarn Fosterer. I did do a shout out in the links last week. I'll do another one this week because I mentioned him again. But obviously I wanted to actually say it in the podcast because if someone buys me a pattern, it's only fair that I actually give them a proper shout out. And if they've got a podcast, I want to encourage you guys to go and watch them. So yeah, Tegsy the Yarn Fosterer, which is really sweet because it's he's sort of mentioned in one of his latest podcasts about adopting yarn and what have you, and it's like yeah, I like that. So yes, that's where the name I think comes from. This idea of he adopts the yarn, he fosters the yarn. Yes, and I think I'm getting the hint that he's a bit of a yarn addict like me. So hi Terry. Another person to say hi to is Emma H. Hi Emma. She is a YouTube commenter who gave me a little bit of info to pass on to Maya. Hi Maya. Who is Shu Meilin Maya on YouTube, and Maya had originally said she didn't know what polyamide was in English, and she thought it was nylon. And I said I thought they were not the same thing. Yeah, because Maya was looking at her label and it was in Swedish, so it said polyamide, but she didn't know what it was, and it's polyamide. It's the same word but pronounced in the English way. And Emma H commented on YouTube to say nylon is a type of polyamide, which makes sense to me. Nylon is the trademark, it's the brand name of the fibre, the thread or whatever, the material. And it is chemically a polyamide. Polyamide is a sort of chemical reference, meaning a chemical structure made up of lots of different amides, amide being a kind of compound. I'm dragging my sixth form chemistry out the back of my head here. Yeah, so polyamide is a chain of lots of amides, which is why nylon, I talked about making nylon and it being this one long line. The cats are now play fighting in the background. And that's because it's one long chain made up of amides, and as you pull the first one out, the next one forms as the two chemicals meet. So nylon is one kind of polyamide. So there you go. Thank you, Emma. There you go, Maya. The answer from the interwebs is that nylon is a type of polyamide. So if you see, because I've seen polyamide on ball bands and stuff, and kind of gone, yeah, that basically means it's a kind of nylon, but it's not nylon, because that's a brand. So it's like seeing oh, I can't think of a decent example. It's like shop shop owned cereal versus brand name cereal. There we go. It's probably the same thing, but it's not nylon registered. Okay, move on, James. Move on. Jeez, I'm labouring this point way too much. Right. I've mentioned Bakewell already, but I want to talk about this because Yarndale, I said, oh yes, I should meet people at Yarndale, and I tried to meet people at Yarndale, but I think I only really just did it on Instagram. And I then found out loads of people went to Yarndale, and I missed them all, including Terry, and a bunch of other people that I have actually sort of spoken to and said hi to and stuff, and a bunch of people I hadn't met at all yet, said hi online to, and a bunch of people I haven't really interacted with yet, but that I follow and sort of, you know, like and maybe comment a bit, but haven't really sort of had conversations with. So for Bakewell, because it turns out there are people I know going, because it turns out there are people that I know who are going, I want to sort of say, meet up, let's do a meetup at Bakewell. So I've stuck a thread in the podcast Ravelry group with a suggested time and date and place of the Saturday at 12 o'clock. And I've said just inside the main entrance, but out of the way of any doors. I don't know what this place is like, but it potentially could be rather dismal weather. So rather than say, well, let's meet outside, although that would be amazing. If we could have a picnic outside, that would be really, really cool. And I kind of would like to, I've sort of aimed it for lunchtime so that everyone can have some food and treat that as a lunch break and then go back to buying yarn. But this is just my off the top of my head suggestion, really. I chatted with Claire from Student Knits and Zena from Little Yellow Uke, who both said that yes, they would like to meet up and they will be going. So check out their podcast so you know who they are if you're going to come along. But it's at the moment, I mean, it's only a week and a half away. It's 10 days away. It's on the 18th. But I will keep it fairly open if there's a big outcry. I've also said I'll probably be going both days. I don't know that Claire and Zena will. I think they're both only going on the Saturday. But because it's only just up the way for me, I've bought a weekend ticket and I'm going to go both days. And that way I can really chill out and take my time and chat with everybody again. And not be worried that I'll do a Yarndale and miss a whole load of people. Now I think Bakewell's probably going to be a lot smaller than Yarndale, so I might not need to go back on the Sunday. But it was £5 instead of £3 for a ticket, and I'm like, support the local festival. Bought a weekend ticket. So, like I say, that's the idea, is just inside the main entrance somewhere, dry and warm, but not in a doorway, and then we will decide where we're going to go from there. If people have a better idea, or there's not many of us going or what have you, then we might meet somewhere else or what have you. No, please don't chew my box. Thank you, Rory. He likes to chew cardboard. And my little cardboard box is right there. And he's going, ooh, cleans his teeth on cardboard boxes, does this one. I think it's from watching the rabbit do it. So he's learnt it. And he'll probably teach it to stitch. So there we go. Hi, Zena. Hi, Claire. And it would be really, 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 really nice to meet more people and actually get to say hi in person and stuff and chat for a bit. So if you are going to go to Bakewell, or you're thinking about going to Bakewell and you're not sure, it's £3 for a day ticket. It is cheap as chips. I know there is going to be some decent stuff there because I know that Natural Born Dyers are going to be there. I know that Lyle Bear is going to be there, and it's her last show ever, so she's got all her stock to get rid of. Discounts! I know there's going to be some cool people there. So, come. You know, what else is stopping you? Just get your butts down there, basically. And then come find us at noon. And obviously, if there's a change to that, then I will say it in next week's podcast, which will be up just before the weekend. and I will do a forum announcement, and I will do Instagram announcement, and I will do everything that I'm on announcement kind of thing. So if you follow me anywhere, I will shout out. But yeah, it is open to being changed in the next sort of week if that turns out to be a really bad idea. Because as I say, I've just made that up. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of a forum thread, a group thread, is the charity ideas thread that I started after last week's podcast. Thank you so much to everyone that's written in there. If you ever want to do some charity knitting, and you are UK based particularly, because obviously that was what my focus was, that thread is now a brilliant resource, because loads of people have come up with loads of different ideas, and if you're not UK based, there's still ideas in there you can copy and transfer across. So thank you to everybody that has that's contributed in there, and there's some ideas in there that I'm going to definitely take up as soon as, and then others that I'm going to save for a later date, because you know I've got like what now I'm down to something like 12 projects in the next 5-6 weeks. But thank you everybody for contributing. I have an awesome lot of audience who respond and jump in and give me ideas when I need them, so thank you. Finally, I was going to do something, but I'm going to move it to the end because it's quite long and I've done a bit of it already. So finally, just in the little My Life section, one thing I noticed, it's my little rant, it's not really a rant, but it's one thing I noticed this week. When I was looking through patterns in Ravelry for my Apple Blossom and You win, because it had to be a giftable pattern, $5 or less. And obviously if I find a free pattern I like, I don't need to ask for it from Sarah Matt. So I was looking through the paid patterns, and I was like, right, so I want to find something that I think is worth having a paid pattern for. It can be something I wouldn't necessarily buy myself, because I'll treat it as being a gift one, because I'm not actually going to have to pay, it's a little prize. But it needs to be $5 or less. And I started by looking at some of my favourite designers. So obviously immediately went to Josh Ricks's pattern page, but the cheapest pattern from Josh for a single pattern is $6. And I was like, okay, ooh, what about a Stephen West pattern? Because I don't have any of his paid patterns. I've not bought anything of his. I have one or two free patterns that I want to try, because he has a brioche cowl, I think it is the one I'm going to end up. I want to try. He has a brioche hat, but I want to try the cowl to try and learn brioche. And he said it was the first brioche project that he did, but that's free. And his other patterns, the cheapest one is $6. And I was like, ugh. So I had a look around. I looked at other male designers, $6. And I was like, I started to think, well, Sarah, this price of $5 or less is not very good. So then I widened my net, which is quite, you know, I do like to try and find male designers because they tend to do design for men. Which is why I think I'd started with the male designers first, because they tend to have more designs for men, just because as a man you tend to go, you know what, there's not a lot of male designs out there. If I'm going to be a designer, I'm going to design stuff that men can wear, because we need more knitted stuff that's cool and not like old school kind of grandpa jumpers. Although the old school grandpa jumper has its place, don't get me wrong. So I'm like, okay, let's widen the net a bit. I know I've heard of various designers. So Martina Bem is one that I heard a lot of. Tinkan Knits. And the person I ended up choosing, that I can't remember what her name is now. She was one that I hadn't even heard of at all, I don't think. But anyway, long story short, I started to drift around, look at other patterns, and I started to realise that there were quite a few that were $5 or less. But only when I looked at female designers. Now, I didn't check all the pages and pages and pages of patterns that I ended up getting up in the search, because I couldn't do a RAV search for $5 or less. And, you know, being able to do a search that's like, what is the gender of the designers that sell patterns for $5 or less compared to the overall gender spread? You know, Ravelry will sometimes do cool like little statistics like that, but you don't really have enough access to their database to be able to do those statistics yourself through the search function. Come on, Ravelry, let me in. Can you hear me, Casey? I think it's Casey, the guy that does the technical side of it, does the API work. We want to be able to do crazy gender-based stats on knitting designers, or at least I do. But I thought that was really interesting. I didn't find a male designer selling anything for less than $6. Now, I could be wrong. There could totally be somebody that does. And if there is, awesome, let me know. I want to see their stuff. But I did think that was quite interesting because that's another, you know, that kind of inbuilt low-level sexism that everybody has, even people who are ardently feminist or equal rights. If you don't call yourself feminist but you are for equal rights for all genders, you basically are feminist. But I know that sometimes if I was to call myself a feminist, tangent, some people would not appreciate that. They would see that as being appropriative because I'm a bloke trying to take the label feminist. And that's totally cool. So I kind of go, well, I wouldn't call myself a feminist. I'm happy to be called a feminist. I think I am a feminist, but I wouldn't say I'm a feminist as a statement because I think that's a label that women need to own. And offer. I think it's for women to offer. So if women call me a feminist, then I accept it gratefully. Because I think human rights apply to everybody. That's my line. All human rights apply to all people. Even when that's awkward, uncomfortable, unpleasant, difficult to work out, ethically troublesome in terms of certainly with things like justice systems, crime and punishment, big hippie here, but human rights, basically, that's my bottom line. So there we go. So as part of that, I am a feminist. But there's that kind of low-level assumption, and because I think these guys, like, I don't think Josh and Stephen are blatant misogynists or anything by a long shot. They're really, really nice people. I do not think these guys are going to be sexist in any way. What I'm talking about is not that overt sexism, which is, you know, I'm not even going to give some examples actually because it's gross. But you know what I mean. The people that say stupid things about what women should and shouldn't do, or jobs for men and jobs for women, or colours for men and colours for women, and all of that stuff. But it's the more insidious stuff, which is where it acts unconsciously on us. And it's that kind of idea as a bloke, I would value my patterns, if I sold a design, I would value my patterns at, say, a nice basic design, I'd say that's worth about $6. And a woman doing the same thing might go, oh, a nice basic design, that's worth, $3.50, $4, maybe $5, $5.50. Very rare did I see a female designer with a simple pattern for $6. And it's just like, you know, everyone's getting to choose their own prices, and women are just pricing themselves down. Now, male designers are rarer, I think, quite considerably. So there might be a novelty factor for that. And so they might get enough sales for all that and what have you. But it struck me as being worthy. No, it struck me as being noteworthy that women designers, I think, can value themselves a bit more. I don't think $6 is a lot for a pattern. Particularly if you make the effort to make it worthwhile buying a pattern. Like there's some bought patterns, I think, that really ought to just be free patterns, basically, because there's not a lot of effort that's gone into really explaining stuff or writing it out, because sometimes that's just the work you don't want to have to do. Like, you can look at an item and go, oh, I could knit that up, but it just requires brain power to work it out. Yes, thank you, Rory. It requires brain power to work it out, or to keep track of where you are, or to think about, oh, how many decreases should I do, how often. And the fact that somebody else has just done that work, even though you could do it, someone else has done it and written it out quite explicitly for you, is really nice. Whereas if someone just goes, decrease down to this, well, you're like, well, yeah, I could have worked that out myself. To be fair, that's rare. I think almost all patterns that I've seen that are bought patterns are very, very well written, so that's fine. Some definitely go the extra mile though. That is certainly the case. And I think if you go the extra mile, $6 is nothing. And Stitch has turned up now. Yeah, so basically pricing. And I did a load of, about 7 years ago, I really got into online marketing and sort of self-employed online biz marketing, and part of that is price setting. And there was all these ideas and articles and exercises that I read and did, thinking about, I'm just going to have to let him out, aren't I? Thinking about price setting, excuse me. Hello, Stitch. Oh, excuse me. Come on. There we go. At least he's learning to just get out so that Stitch doesn't get a run out. About setting prices. And when you are producing something that is, oh, what was the term? Basically, when you're producing a digital item, so originally I was reading about stuff that's like for ebooks and what have you, but an online pattern through Ravelry is exactly the same idea. You write up this intellectual property, and then you sell as many copies as anyone wants to buy, and you don't have to do any more work. So you do all the work up front, and then you sell little copies of it for a cheaper price. And the kind of idea about pricing was usually around, okay, you come up with, sit and sort of start with a ridiculously low price that you would just think, I'm not selling it for that, that's just not on, that's, you know, I don't want to bother writing it up the pattern if that's what I'm going to sell it for. So you start with that as your bottom price on a bit of paper. And then you go up to a price, and then you put a top price in that is like, oh, no way am I selling it for that. It's not worth that. And you put that as your, you know, that's just a rip-off. I would feel guilty charging that much for this. And you put that on your bit of paper as your top price. So that kind of gives you some bounds to work within. So you might go free and just go, I don't want to put this, I'm going to put together a pattern, I'm going to do a really good job on it, and I'm going to really make an effort to make sure that the photos look lovely and it's really clear and it's well written, and I do lots of suggestions and I fill out all the information about things you'll need and ways you could adapt it and all of this. So it's like, I'm going to really go the extra mile, so I wouldn't want to just give it away for free. No, I want something. So free is my bottom price. I wouldn't do that in this example. And then your top price, I might kind of go, I think $10 is pushing it. That's like £8 or something, isn't it? Or, no, it's more like $6.50. So maybe I would charge that much. Okay, so maybe maybe my absolute top price would be $15. Yeah, I wouldn't charge $15. There we go. That's just ridiculous. I don't think anyone would buy it for that. That's like a multi-pack of patterns price. But again, I'm not thinking about what other people charge at this point. I'm not going, oh, well, they only charge $3, so I can only charge $3. No. Because I don't know what effort they have to put in. I don't know if people like their pattern or not. I don't know if they have this big following, or if nobody ever buys it and it's just this silly little thing she chucked up for $3. So you just don't know how other people's pricing works. And it's not commodity based. It's not buying in a load of product as cheap as possible and shipping it out as cheap as possible, where you have to price match, which is what supermarkets and all those kind of things have to do, because otherwise you just go and buy the same thing cheaper elsewhere. This is a unique item that you've poured your creative self into. So you charge what is appropriate for a unique item that you've poured your creative self into. It's not the same as anyone else's pricing. A little bit of a rant kicked in there. Price yourselves appropriately, people. Come on. And I think, with independent dyers, you see that happening. There are price differentials, although it usually is around the same. Depending on whether or not people think, actually, this is a boggy standard easy dye, I can do this a bit cheaper, versus this is a really complicated dye, or this is a one-off sort of creative thing that's taken a lot more time to make, and it costs a little bit more, and you see that happening. So it's that kind of logic. So let's say I'm going from $3 to $15. It's interesting as well, actually. I tended to see UK designers price in dollars. There were European designers in euros and Canadian designers in Canadian dollars, but Brit designers seem to charge for their patterns in US dollars, which I found interesting. Probably because we then want to go and buy American things in US dollars, and it's easier just to have the PayPal money in our account in the US dollars. Although, I did that recently. I had a PayPal balance in US dollars and not in British pounds. I didn't have any British pounds in there. And it kept taking my dollar money and converting it to pounds to pay for stuff through PayPal. And that really annoyed me. I was like, yes, I've got dollars in there, but I want to use that when I pay for stuff in dollars. I don't want to pay PayPal for fricking converting it. So I was like, hello? I was like, do I need to go and pay some British money into it as well, so that I can hopefully it would pull it from the British money? Because it has my British card, and it always just goes, oh, you've got no British money in, use your British card. But because it had American money in, it used my American money and then charged me commission for the exchange rate. And I'm like, oh, for frick's sake, what's the point? What was the point in keeping it in dollars if then everything I buy, even stuff in dollars, you convert it? At least I think it was stuff in dollars I bought. Was it just British stuff I bought? I don't remember. Anyway, it annoyed me. Pricing, yes. So, the idea is you would go, right, how do I feel when I think about pricing this pricing this pattern that I put a lot of effort into, $0, for free? And I'm just like, I feel really deflated. Right, okay, well I don't like that. I don't want that to be the experience of producing this pattern, so that doesn't work, so no. Let's try $1. How do I feel when I think about selling my pattern that I put a lot of work into for $1? I'm like, I might do that as a special offer type thing. Like, occasionally for a special reason. So like, okay, $1 is my special offer price. So that would be, I don't know, maybe a limited time only, or some kind of flash sale, or something like that. But it's like, yeah, okay, if I do, or some kind of reward for podcast listeners or people in my group, or something like that, like a limited reach, limited time. Bam, grab it now for only $1. I'd be okay with that. But it would have to be very, very limited. Okay. How do I feel about selling it for $2? No, it doesn't feel like a treat, and it doesn't feel like enough. $3. No, I've put a lot of work in. $4, no. $5, no. $6. Well, this is where I kind of go, okay, that is what some of the other designers that I respect are using. But I think, well, let's see, let's say it's me, this would be a first pattern. maybe I'm going to go for $6 as a sort of I'll go with market value, but I'm going to price it up because I would want it to be something I put a lot of effort into how I present it, and you know, having it checked and testing it and what have you. So I think it's worth the full $6. 7. No, actually, for a first pattern that is too much. I think I was just being silly and greedy. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, fair enough. So what you do is you kind of you think about selling it at each of these different, that's my phone by the way, sorry, at each of these different price points between your 2 min and your max. And you'll often come across 2 prices that you're willing to sell it at. This is what's really interesting. And that the part of these exercises found is they say, you know, you'll often find 2 prices. The bottom one is like your sale price, and the top one is your actual sell it price. And the idea is that if you feel quite guilty about charging people for stuff, I clearly don't, you might normally put it in at the bottom price thinking, oh, I can't, you know, oh, that's good enough. I'll only charge that. I won't charge the higher price, which would mean I would put it in at like $1, being like, oh, it's my first pattern, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I can't charge proper prices, and I'm not professional, and and I just put it up for like $1. The problem with that is people value your product based on how much you value your product. So if I only value my pattern at $1, people will be like, well, it's probably not very good. If it was free, I'd check it out, but I'm not just going to pay $1. I'm just to check it out. And that actually happens. People won't buy it because it's cheap. There's a point at which it becomes too cheap to be worth buying because you don't obviously value it enough, so you clearly haven't put much into it, is what a buyer understands. So to people that use the lower price, normally, it's like, no, you've got to go back, work out what your higher comfortable price is, and sell it normally at that, and then do sales at your lower price to your favourite people. So if you wouldn't want to sell it to your friends, your whoever, your newsletter subscribers, your email list, your blog readers, your whoever and ever, like your peeps that are your friends, then you give them a chance, or either temporarily or permanently, to buy it at the lower price. Or you can say, okay, every so many months I'll release the coupon code for this again, or whatever, however you want to do it, so that you get to feel like you're giving your work at the cheap price to the people you like, because you know you still want to be selling stuff, but you know, and you can your best friends, you can just give it to them, can't you? But like your people you're in touch with, the people in your circle, can get it at your nice cheap price. So that's what I'm talking myself through. Now if I design a pattern, this is clearly what I'm going to have to do, isn't it? I've said it now. But as a salesperson, and as somebody who thought about being a salesperson, that feels so much more congruent, so much more authentic, so much more me, so much more real, so much more emotionally like, yeah, that's me operating from a safe, comfortable place, not a place of fear, not a place of inadequacy, not a place of desperation for money and overpricing drastically or anything like that. And that was the idea. So if anyone watches this and does sell stuff, that's my little tip for you, vendors. Go and sit and have a little moment thinking about your pricing. And then tell me to follow you. And then give me a discount code so I get the cheaper price. And sell it to all the other suckers at the higher price, okay? This is basically me trying to get everyone to flog me their stuff for cheap. Because it's so pretty and I want it all. But yeah, so that was a little blurb, my little thing for this week, inspired by noticing the gender differential in patterns. The other thing I want to mention is a little sort of tease, which is a possible future knit-along with me that I will host. So I have an idea of something that I would like to do. It won't be until possibly even next year now. It could be the second half of November into the first half of December. It's only a little thing. So it could be, I think it would be a good Christmas gift kind of idea, a bit like the Mr. Cal crochet along. But I would be running this one, so it'd be by me, and I would maybe do a bit of a giveaway or something as part of that. You know, the usual kind of actually running a Cal kind of thing. That's a really nice idea. So I can actually connect with you guys a bit more through that. So this is more of a putting a feeler out there. So if that sounds like a fun idea, shout, let me know. In the episode thread, and if that gets enough interest that people kind of go, yeah, that could be cool. Obviously you might want to know what it is or what have you. At the moment I'm just going to say it's a small project, it's fairly easy, so a beginner knitter could do it, it won't take long to do it at all, and that's enough. That's what I'm going to say at the moment, and I'll wait until I've made more of a decision around some bits and pieces to do with it before I release more info. But if that sounds interesting on a general basis, generally I'm interested, I'll commit more when I know more, then shout, and I will maybe then start putting up a thread for that Cal and the chatter and stuff and everything like that, see what happens. Now, finally, the last thing I wanted to do, I watched a couple of podcasts recently. I watched a lot of podcasts recently, actually, because I do. Wednesday is my recording day, so I don't get much time to record, and recording and editing and stuff. I don't think I'm going to bother editing. I think I'm just going to go top and tail and pop it up on YouTube. But that still takes a bit of faffing time. But I will watch podcasts the rest of the week catching up, because I know there's other people that release on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I'm like, no, I'm missing your podcast whilst I'm recording. But I watched a couple recently who mentioned, what was it called? I think I made a note of what it was called in my scribbled notes over the week. The Romping Room. That was it. I have no idea what this is. This must be an American thing. I'm thinking it's an American children's TV program. And they were sad because their names never got shouted out. And I wanted to give you an idea of just what a commitment I've made to podcast watching as well. So, I'm not going to link to everybody in my show notes because that's just way too much effort. But at a future date, I've thought about some way I could publish all the podcasts that I watch. But to be honest, I've mentioned it before, if you want more podcasts, go to knittingpodcast.blogspot.com, because I'm pretty sure all of these will be on there and more. It's quite a few. But I will make sure that everyone I watch gets a shout out at some point. I did promise that. But for the moment, I just want to say hello to some people. Hi Denise. Hi Zoe. Hi Josh. Hi Heather. Hi Kimberly. Hi Samara. Hi Maya. Hi Cara. Hi Kim. Hi Karen. Hi JV. Hi Terry. Hi Kay and Dan. Hi Dave and Ellie. Hi Helen. Hi Nick Nacaroni. Hi Erin. Hi Kate. Hi Laura. Hi Leslie. Hi Juniper Grace. Hi Lauren. Hi Josh. Hi Christy. Hi Sarah. Hi Kerry. Hi Beth. Hi Stephanie. Hi Amy. Hi Kimberly. Hi Lindsay. Hi Blake. Hi Chrissy. Hi Lucia. Hi Zena. Hi Stacey. Hi Steph. Hi Haley. Hi Lisa. Hi Laura. Hi Lucas. Hi Elizabeth. Hi Sue and Carrie and Lynn. Hi Maulisha. Hi Talia. Hi Tanya Marie. Hi Danny. Hi Amy. Hi Darren. Hi Megan. Hi Amy. Hi Kristen. Hi Amy Beth. Hi Sarah. Hi Matt. Hi Cece. Hi Damaris. Hi Melinda. Hi Dawn. Hi James. Hi Linda. Hi Brianne. Hi Ken. Hi Ross. Whew. Yeah, I went squeaky there, didn't I? That's a lot of names. And there's still some more that that I haven't watched a podcast for yet, that are in my to catch lists. And there's more in my lists of like checking the knitting podcast blogspot out to get more podcasts that I want to watch. So I found it's actually very successful if I put them in little groups of 10 in YouTube, and then I just check each group and go, right, are there any new videos? And that way I feel like I work through all 10, I've got 8 groups at the moment. Of 10, yeah, exactly. It feels like that way I kind of catch everybody fairly quickly after they release. And I feel like I'm not missing people accidentally, because YouTube seems to show me, okay, all the podcasts from a group of 10. I had a collection obviously of like 70, 80, and I got like 5 different podcasters and just all their podcasts. And I was like, well, there's clearly other people. Why are they not showing up? So yeah, that is all the guys that I am watching. And I wanted to do that because I know that some of you guys also watch me, and that makes me really happy. And originally, as I said, the reason I started this was because I wanted to connect with, particularly, I wanted to be able to talk back to, rather, particularly, I wanted to be able to, try again. I wanted to be able to talk back to the podcasts I was watching, especially at the time, Kay and Dan. I did say Kay this time, right? Yes, good. I wrote Kay, so I must have said Kay and Dan this time. It's because there's a Kimberly and a Kim as well. And Kim and Sam, you're always in my mind. Always on my mind. So I was like, oh, I'll record a podcast and say hi back. So I was like, I've got to say hi to all these podcasts I'm watching, because this is why I started recording. And then I found I had an amazing audience, and so I want to connect to you guys as well. And that's what my comments are for, and that's why I've got the podcast group and what have you. But I want to get to know the other podcasters and to chat with them as well. So I wanted to shout them out, let them know I'm watching them, and just get in touch and see if they would like to watch me. So there we go. Yeah, and that was it for today. I don't know how long this is, because again, I'm not timing it, but it feels like it's a shorter one. I'm hungry, so I'm going to go and get some food, and I'm cold, so I'm going to go and see if the heating needs turning back on, because I only popped it on for an hour. But then I get cold when I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat first, and then if I'm still cold after half an hour after that, then I'll turn the heating on. But what I tend to do is I will squirrel myself away in a corner, bury myself under a blanket, watch podcasts, edit on the computer, and if I close the doors, leave the door for the cats ajar, but close the doors into the dining room where I am at the moment, because this is onto the garden and it's a bit colder, then the warmth of the computer and TV are enough to warm the room up significantly. And then I snuggle under a blanket and I'm fine. In fact, I'm toasty warm usually, and usually get too hot. So, yeah, that was it for today. Thanks you guys again for watching. Much love to everybody. Hi you, if I haven't said your name. And you can include yourself. If I managed to say your name but you don't think it was for you, it was for you. And yeah, come say hi. Message me on Ravelry. You can just send me a PM. I love them. It's not weird or anything, please. On the forum, in the episode thread, if you're watching it in the episode thread, or on YouTube in the comments if you're watching it there. You can also like and subscribe on YouTube if you want to do that, so that would be lovely. If you're not watching it in either of those places, and I'm somehow getting embedded somewhere else, there is usually a little YouTube icon in the bottom right, which should be here-ish. And if you click on that, it will take you to my video page in YouTube, and then you'll have the like button and the subscribe button and the comments that you can join in on. Do that. It also means I know you've watched it, because YouTube give me stats, and that makes me happy, and I can go, yay, people have watched it. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Big love. Bye.